The summer of 1940 was like no other. The world had never felt so silent, so uncertain. Across the English Channel, smoke still rose from the ruins of France. Entire cities lay in ash. The German Blitzkrieg, fast, brutal, unstoppable, had swept through Europe like a storm of steel and fire. In just 6 weeks, the armies of Hitler had crushed everything in their path. Belgium, the Netherlands, and France, nations that had stood proud for centuries, had fallen. The British Expeditionary Force had fled in desperation, rescued from the beaches of Dunkirk under a rain of bombs. Now only one nation stood in Hitler's way, an island, small, defiant, scarred by war, standing alone against the might of Nazi Germany. This is the story of how Britain faced the storm, how ordinary pilots and civilians, with almost nothing left to give, held the line between freedom and tyranny. This was the Battle of Britain. By June 1940, Europe belonged to Adolf Hitler. The Nazi flag flew from the Atlantic coast to the edge of Poland. To the Führer, victory seemed inevitable. Britain was isolated, her army stripped of weapons, her allies gone. He believed that England, proud but broken, would seek peace, a peace he could control. But the man who now led Britain, Winston Churchill, had no intention of surrendering. So Hitler turned to his generals and gave a new command: Operation Sea Lion, the invasion of Great Britain. The plan was simple in theory, but impossible in execution, unless the German Luftwaffe could destroy the Royal Air Force first. Without air superiority, the invasion fleet would be slaughtered in the Channel. So, before the German army could cross the sea, the battle for the skies would begin. On the German airfields of northern France, the Luftwaffe assembled the greatest aerial armada the world had ever seen. More than 2,000 aircraft, bombers, fighters, dive bombers, stood ready. Their targets were radar stations, airfields, factories, and the hearts of British cities. To command this force, Hitler chose Hermann Göring, the self-assured, decorated ace of the First World War. Across the Channel, Britain's defense was fragile. The Royal Air Force had only a few hundred fighters, the elegant Spitfire and the rugged Hurricane. Young men barely out of training would soon face seasoned German pilots with years of combat experience. And yet Britain had something the Germans did not: a chain of early warning radar stations and a command network that could track incoming raids in real time. It was the first true air defense system in history. On July 10, 1940, the first waves came. German bombers crossed the Channel in tight formation, their engines echoing like thunder. The British radar picked them up instantly, sending squadrons scrambling into the sky. For the first time, the two air forces met over the open fields of southern England. Trails of white vapor twisted against the blue sky as machine guns chattered and engines screamed. Fighters spiraled down in flames, parachutes opened over the sea. The battle for Britain had begun. In the days that followed, attacks came almost daily. The Luftwaffe struck ports and convoys, testing British defenses. Then they shifted to airfields, relentless, precise, devastating. The RAF fought back with everything it had. Every victory cost them dearly. Pilots returned to base exhausted, faces blackened with smoke and oil. Many never returned at all. But still, the squadrons held the line. By September, the German strategy changed. Frustrated by Britain's resistance, Hitler ordered a new campaign, the Blitz. Night after night, the bombers came for the cities: London, Coventry, Birmingham. The sky turned red with fire. Families huddled in underground stations, listening to the distant roar of engines and the thunder of falling bombs. The city burned, but the spirit of its people refused to break. Churchill's words echoed through the chaos. "We shall never surrender." And so, the people endured. Firefighters battled the infernos. Volunteers dug survivors from rubble. The nation stood together as one. Hitler's fatal mistake came in those same weeks. By focusing on civilian targets, the Luftwaffe gave the Royal Air Force time to recover. Airfields were repaired, pilots rested, new squadrons deployed. Radar stations returned to operation. On September 15, 1940, Goering launched his largest assault, a massive daylight attack meant to crush Britain once and for all. But it failed. The RAF met the Germans head-on. Spitfires and Hurricanes tore through bomber formations. By the end of the day, dozens of German planes lay scattered across English fields and the Channel waters. The invasion was postponed, then cancelled. Hitler turned his eyes east, to the Soviet Union. Britain had survived. The Battle of Britain lasted 4 long months. It was the first major campaign fought entirely by air forces, and it ended with the first real defeat of Nazi Germany. More than 1,700 German aircraft were destroyed. The RAF lost nearly 1,000 planes, and with them, hundreds of brave pilots. They were called the Few, immortalized in Churchill's words. Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few. The Battle of Britain did more than save a nation. It saved the idea of freedom itself. Had the RAF fallen, Hitler's armies might have crossed the Channel. Europe's last light might have gone dark. Instead, Britain stood, alone, battered, but unbroken. And because it stood, the world found hope again. In the quiet after the storm, the skies above England returned to blue. The smoke drifted away. The pilots, those who lived and those who didn't, became legends. The Battle of Britain was not just a fight for land or skies, it was a fight for the soul of humanity, for the belief that courage, unity, and defiance could stand against tyranny. This was the moment when the world discovered that even in its darkest hour, hope could fly. And so, the story of the Battle of Britain comes to a close. A battle fought not just with machines, but with courage, sacrifice, and the unbreakable will to stand free. If this story moved you, if you believe history should never be forgotten, then stay with us. Subscribe to Forgotten Fronts, where we bring the past back to life, one untold story at a time. Because every war has its heroes, and every front has a story waiting to be remembered.